Good evening, members of the media, members of the public. Thank you for joining us here on the National Electoral Commission's Unfinished 1 NEC Center. Uh, Thank you for giving me a chance to give my side and explain a lot on what happened during this election season. Many concerns have brought our very electoral process today. It's very concerning that a lot of things transpired today and it is not for the good. First, I'll give a statement regarding our nation's elections delay for the January 2025 parliamentary elections. As you may have known, our election forms only opened about 4 p.m., 4 hours late than the mandated 12 to 6 uh, 12 to 6 election period that was mandated on Article 11, Section 30 of the Batas Pambansa Bilang 23, otherwise known as the Omnibus Electoral Code of 2025, on which I acknowledge is a legislation that I wrote myself during my tenure as a member of parliament. Given that, I also want to stress out that even though that there is a law, I'm using a real life precedent wherein the Commission of Elections of the Republic of the Philippines have extended and delayed their election openings, especially if there's some issues with the polling place. I want to make this clear. It is not about technical problems, but rather personal personal issues with myself as I have fallen asleep earlier than intended to be um that intended should be. It was 4 hours over and I should woke up at 11 a.m. supposedly, and I was never even supposed to sleep. Given that case, the National Electoral Commission, myself, is apologizing that this fault is to happen. I recognize that the Filipino people want accountability. The Filipino people deserve that their rights are upheld given this election, their voices heard. That's why, as a counter, uh, as a solution to amend the problems, I have extended the period of election to recompensate the 4 hours wasted during the waiting period. Now the election period has started from 4 to 10 p.m. We will allow latecomers to enter the polls by the following minutes: 10, 15, and only that. That is our grace period. NEC is a ministerial agency by nature on which they can also make laws and are guided by same law and are guided by laws made by Congress. But the National Electoral Commission is an independent body on which it is upholding the Constitution. And for our conduct of elections, I recognize as well that this isn't the first time that elections were delayed. Given the examples of the July snap elections and the October presidential and parliamentary elections, it has been the same reason: I overslept. And that is my personal fault that I acknowledge. Aside from this, I have joined the protests earlier at Bahay Pangarap, but before that, I talked with the President and Prime Minister to mend the issues that surround this current election. I also expressed plans for any of this incident to never happen again once we reach the presidential elections next month, February 26. The presidential elections of February 26, 2025 will not be a forms game, but rather an in game voting one. That's why it has been decided by the Commission and the Special Task Force to create a more formidable framework so that there will no be any mistakes like this to happen again. Intensive preparations, more system integrations, and system refreshes, and more intensified voter campaigns are on the way. And sure, the voter education campaigns have been running now, and I know some of you, most of you have saw that uh, voter education campaigns. It will continue more and more robustly in the coming months. With the presidential elections still a month away, I think that it is best to prepare because it is important that we should not have these mistakes done. Lastly, oh, sorry, about the protests. I have joined the protests earlier because I know that the people are mad. The citizens are mad because they know that this isn't right. NEC now had become incompetent, and I would like to acknowledge that. The people want answers. The people want accountability and integrity. I may have failed, but I will try my best to gain the public's trust. That's why I faced the protesters earlier, joining them hand by hand, even with the dispersals, the abusive dispersals of our national police have taken in place, on which myself was beaten by our national police in a on such a condemning way. I deeply condemn that. Other than that, even though the people's voice has to be heard, especially in protests and elections, I want to recognize that this rally, on which the party's president and the Minister of Justice of Magdalo has joined, they incited violence on a supposed peaceful protest. They have they have created a ruckus in the very home of our Prime Minister. It is deeply regrettable that a member of government is inciting violence on a establishment of government. And I recognize that he is the president of the Partido Magdalo, which is a political party running today in this election. Right now, I've consulted with my legal team and they gave me the following. They recommended that the Magdalo party list shall be disqualified from the parliamentary elections for violating Article 15, Section 55B and Article 8, Section 14B. I will recite Article 15, Section 55B as follows. Threats, intimidation, terrorism, use of fraudulent device, or any other forms of coercion. Any person who directly or indirectly threatens, intimidates, or actually causes, inflicts, or produces any violence, injury, punishment, damage, loss, or disadvantage upon any person or persons, or that of the immediate members of his family, his honor, or property, or uses of any fraudulent device, scheme to compel and induce the registration or refraining from registration of any voter, or participation in a campaign, or refraining the desistance of any campaign, or casting any vote, or omission to vote, or any promise of such registration, campaign, vote, or omission therefrom. Other than that, Article 8, Section 14 let B of the same Omnibus Electoral Code, Batas Pambansa bilang 23. During the campaign of during the period of campaign and ending 10 days thereafter, where in any area of the country there are persons committing acts of terrorism to influence the people to vote or any against candidate or political party, the commission has shall have the power to authorize any member of the armed forces, the National Bureau of Investigation, the Philippine National Police, or any similar agency or instrumentality of government except civilian and home defense forces to act deputies for the elections. Um, we should go cite Article 15, Section 55, because this is an incitement to violence. This is an incitement to call for action to destroy our peaceful election process. Because as we have seen on reports, uh, as we saw on the reports on the kapisanan ng broadcaster ng Pilipinas, we saw images of the Bahay Pangarap being burned to the ground by these protesters. They also attacked our national police. That's why it is imperative for this commission to act as well in the name of the law that they should be disqualified for doing these actions. Given that those who already voted for Magdalo, given that those already voted for Magdalo, their votes will be nullified by this commission. Any votes for that party will not be counted and considered null and void. As a closing statement, none of us are winners tonight. Many of us have faults. Many of us have troubles. Many of us have mistakes that we've done. But in this election, you, the people, will decide what the outcome of our country will be. And that is a right that shall not be infringed. The commission, the commission stands by that belief that every people has the right to suffrage. That's why we have come with these solutions to ensure that there will be minimal damage to our country's election and that such things shall never happen again. On part of the National Electoral Commission, I deeply want to apologize. I recognize that this election shall be shall should be more and expected to be proper and more orderly. I recognize that I have failed as a chairwoman of the National Electoral Commission to ensure that there will be security in our polls. And I recognize that this is a lapse of judgment. I am sorry. That's all for us. We thank you for participating. This press briefing is now closed. Thank you for joining us. Thank you.